Hey everybody, it's Andy. Welcome back to my weekly show where I help you build a career you love. Thursday live office hours. Glad to be here with you. I'm scrambling a little bit, but I think I got everything in order, and I hope you are all doing well. Great to have you on this Thursday. I like my normal slots. Got kind of a normal week. We had our Tuesday Careers and Coffee show the other day in the morning. That was great. Been trucking right along. Had a leadership session yesterday. If you missed the goal setting masterclass special, that's over, but you can still jump in the leadership monthly and get the career accelerator and learn everything you want about all the soft skills you wish you had or were better at. I know I do. So I'm going to dive right into the questions today. I do have a couple of announcements. One is the Chicago meetup is tomorrow. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And we've got a special on the Job Search Bootcamp this week through Wednesday. I'm not going to be sending you many messages. I'm not going to be sending you any messages until maybe a couple of them next week. But hopefully you can check that out if you want to. You've been on the fence about jumping in, or if you need some help. But great stuff. We'd love to have you. Maybe Kara can drop the links in the chat. But I see a question from Alina. And as we go through these questions, if you're new to the program, put some question marks in front of your questions. The chat gets pretty lively, so it's easier for me to pick those up. I'd always love to know where you're from, what you need. Make sure to put those question marks in front of your questions. If you've got if you're using multiple chat segments to ask me your question, just let me know it's one of two or one of three or whatever that might be. And if you are in one of the Mile Walk Academy programs, please let me know that. Use a hashtag and call out the fact that you're a boot camper or a leader or an I-teamer or whatever program you're in, so I know what assets you have at your disposal. As I give you counsel, I can point you to that, and I always like to give you a shout out. All right, let's do it. Alina, how are you? I see you were up early this morning on the West Coast. What would that be? What'd you do? Roll out of bed 6:51 and pop one in? All right. I see 2 of 2, but I don't know that I see the first one. So I think I'm missing. Actually, could you hold on? I'm having coaster issues because my hot tea is is seeping through my coaster, so I need 2 of them. All right. See, All right. Alina, I don't see the first one. I see the second one that says 2 of 2, no response yet. Friday will be 1 week. In the meantime, someone else from the same company has viewed my LinkedIn profile twice in the past 24 hours. What to do and what to say. I don't know what the first question was. If you can drop it in the chat, Kara will Slack it to me, and I'll just circle back and answer those. But let me go on to your next set. 1 of 2, another target company has 1 open position I'm considering. Less creative still deals a bit with print and geared towards project coordinator admin, but within my skill set and past experience. Ideal positions not available, unclear how to approach the target company, feels like a blend of boss hunt with or without job opening and 7-sentence cover letter. So here's what I would do. So if you said it has 1 open position that you're considering, I would not focus on that. I would do maybe 1 of 2 things. I would try this is the sequence I would go in. If you can manage this, I would go into the area that you want to be in, even if there's no opening. Use the boss hunting technique with the no job opening sample as opposed to the one with the job opening sample. Try that route first. Don't worry that there's not a publicized opportunity. You can also, if you can seem to locate the other area, the other boss, I would use the boss hunting cover letter with the known job opening template. And if they are distinct enough and you don't think that they would be in the same area, I would send them both. That's the first shot that I would take. And I might stagger it. I might go after the area that you could actually do it in either sequence that you want. So if you want to go after the person or the boss or the recruiter who might be in charge of the area where you know a position exists, go that route. Give it a few 3-4 days, then send the other one into the other area. That's what I would do. If you think that this position, it reports to the same boss, then what I would do is I would send the message with the no job opening style. Actually, I would probably just blend it and say I'd be open, to whatever other suitable positions that you think, and then go that route, and you don't even necessarily need to reference the other position, or if you want to call out some of those skills inside, they likely will be able to connect the dots. That's the way I would go. I think you're going to have better luck that route. So I hope that helps. All right, Drew, tuning in for some knowledge. Hope you and your family are doing well, man. We are. We're getting ready for this little thing. I'm pulling all my troops in Chicago over to the little meetup thing tomorrow. A network contact of mine is handing off my resume for a design position. I will follow up with her soon. Wonderful. Great to hear it. And I could see in my peripheral vision here, we're getting Alina's original one of two and two of two. So here we go. First referral is either ghosting me after initial communication or too busy, but after 2 follow-ups, each a week apart, I reached out to someone else and sent the resume along with the bus hunting cover letter with the job opening. Haven't heard back yet. Friday will be 1 week. In the meantime, someone else from the same company viewed my LinkedIn profile twice in the past 24 hours. What to do and what to say? Nothing. For Alina and everybody else, I would not obsess over who's looking at your LinkedIn profile. I would not burn a lot of energy there. You don't know what's happening. However, in your case, because of the tight coincidence here and the fact that somebody did look at your profile, what I would do is, if it's been 1 week and you have not heard back, when we get off the session today, feel free to contact that same person and just say, hey, I just wanted to follow up on this, and see what happens. And then I would wait 1 more week. And then at that point, I probably would maybe I'd wait maybe 2 weeks. Then I'd try, give it a third shot, and then that would be it. Then I would either go another route through the company, but I wouldn't be if somebody contacted me because they saw that I looked at their LinkedIn profile, I would, for me, I would just dismiss it. I wouldn't contact them back if I was not interested initially. It's not. I just don't think that contacting somebody because you were going to acknowledge that you saw that they looked at your profile. I would not do that. If you feel like that person is somebody who you can use one of the templates, the networking templates that I've given you, of the 10 in the boot camp, if you could use one of those to develop a relationship with that person as if you're pretending you didn't even notice that they looked at your LinkedIn profile, then that's fine. But I would not make any reference to it. I just don't. I think that too often that stuff is coincidental. In your case, it might not be, though, just because you did send that targeted letter. But that's how I would go about that one. I hope that helps. Birdhouse, is there anyone out there that would like to give me a hand on my resume? I have followed Andrew's layout, but would like some help and don't have 250 single. Okay, let's move on from that one. Anybody who wants to give that person a hand is welcome to do it. All right. And yes, Birdhouse, I do that. Alina knows about that class. Dean, question. How do I show a high level of energy and desire during an interview without going overboard or looking or acting phony? Great question. I think energy comes from a couple of things. And I don't want anybody. So I am a naturally interested person in things, meaning when I engage with you, I'm naturally curious about you. I'm fascinated with people. I'm passionate about building relationships. And my mindset going into anything that I do is I want the person who is meeting with me, speaking with me on the phone, doing a video call, watching a video or whatever. If that's the only thing they ever see of mine or ever communicate with me on, I want them to walk away feeling that they feel better for having known me. That's genuinely what goes through my blood. And regardless of your level of energy, naturally, some people are introverts, some people are quiet, some people are, just depending on how you are. I don't want you to be fake. So I think when you are demonstrating energy, I think your level of engagement, so the contact with the eyes, the level of focus on the person, the level of interest you express with the words you use. So, I am very interested in this position. I'm very interested in this company, and using language like that. But you know that 93% of verbal communication is exchanged outside of the words that you use. So 7% is related to the words, and about half or so, more than half is related to body language. The other portion is related to tone in the voice. So when you think about that, use all of that to your advantage. So make sure you're speaking clearly. Make sure you're speaking directly. Make sure you're using the right language that is in sync with your behavior. I'm wildly interested in this position because your rationale has to sync with what you're saying about your level of interest and so on. I loved your background. I couldn't wait to talk to you about how you got here. Those kinds of things. You don't have to stand on the table or anything, and you don't have to scream. But that will show interest, attitude, and all that good. But all that stuff has to be in sync. The language you use, the tone in your voice, the body language, the contact, the eye contact, the smiling, and the posture, and all that good stuff. So keep that in mind. All right, Dean, great question. Adam Stark, 1 of 2. The other day I asked about putting my passion project in my recent job. You did say that. Will interviewers be worried about why I'm applying to their company, which isn't film, if I'll be able to do the role on top of a side venture? So you raise a good point. I did not know when I gave you the answer the other day that what you'd be interviewing for in some way, shape, or form was not related to what you're doing. So you have a freelancing business, which I'm aware of, and you did one of your passion projects, which fits in to the freelancing that you're doing. And when we were talking the other day, we were talking about how I felt like you could advertise that as a project that you did, as a whatever. It was interesting to you. It served multiple purposes. Perhaps it was a pilot or a pro forma or a piece of your portfolio that you could demonstrate to those who were looking to hire you and your services, and so on. Now, if that does not coincide with what it is that you're interviewing for, I don't have an issue with you saying, I did this as part of the freelance work so that I could keep my business going, but now I'm going to park that in favor of. I would never say to an employer that I'm going to be working this on the side. I would never, for any of you that have side deals, side hustles, side anything that consume a lot of your time, even if it's not work related, I probably would not mention it in an interview unless it is completely germane to what you're interviewing for, or somebody expresses, hey, I'm really passionate about this. I'd love to hear about your hobbies or what do you do in your free time? And then there's nothing wrong with expressing it, but I would just be careful. I would not go overboard. I would watch that. It's a fine line. Hope that helps. Sokolov 114. Hello, everyone. What's the most useful thing a person can do in order to prepare for the job search in country X if he, at the moment, is in country Y that is relocating overseas with open work visa? Okay, so you have an open work visa. That's good. I'm going to give you a quick short answer here. Go check out my video on how to get an out-of-state job. I know it says out-of-state. It's the same application for an out-of-country. And the only other thing that I might add that isn't in the 9 steps that I go through in that video is, if you can, one of the best routes to get to another country is through a company who will transfer you, within its own company. because they don't have the transferring of the visa issues and any of that good stuff. Sometimes you got to actually start a visa process. So I would always recommend that you do that, and just make sure you are keeping that in your opportunities. A lot of you ask me about opportunities in other countries. It would be very, very helpful if you also let me know why you are moving. If you're moving just because you think, this place over here is going to be better than that place over there, that's one thing. If you're moving because your spouse got transferred, that's another thing, right? If you're moving because your family is there and, you're holding down the fort in the country where you're in to generate money and you're sending it overseas and so on, that's another thing. So all of these reasons why people want to move, they factor into the advice I would give you. So let me know those things when you are in this situation. Joseph Lustre, hey, but thanks for that. I do love to pronounce your names correctly. So please, if I don't get embarrassed if you guys correct me. I'm getting better and better because I think 38 or 39% of my community is outside the U.S., but I can't, even the American names, I don't always pronounce them correctly. So just let me know. It's totally okay. I love that. I'm going on a contracting position where I've already been told the hourly rate. Happy with the rate. Awesome. If offered the position, do I still negotiate for a better rate or benefits? Joseph, do you mean if you're offered a full-time position? If you said, I'm going for a contract position where I've already been told the hourly rate, are you going for a contracting position through a contracting company who told you, hey, they're going to pay you $50 or $100 an hour, that's the going rate? Or did you go in directly as a sole proprietor, a freelancer, contracting services of Joe Lustre, LLC, and you went direct and they said, hey, we're going to pay you $50 an hour, and then you said, hey, that sounds great. If that is the case, I would take the rate that they offered. If you're going through a staffing company, you can negotiate, ask the staffing company if they'll pay any more. That's going to be dependent on your set of skills. In contracting, people, for all of you that have watched my salary negotiation playlist, the techniques in that make the assumption that you are negotiating for a full-time position. 95% of the tactics in all of those salary negotiation videos that I've created will apply to contractors. However, contractors have to recognize that unless you have an incredibly in-demand skill or a very unique skill, if I'm the company and you want to negotiate, I'll just move on to the next person if that's the rate I want to pay. So you better either have something that they cannot find, or they have something that is in high demand, and you need to be really careful if you are going into a company where you are working in an area that for them is not strategic. So we get a lot of people, a great example, I know a lot of people who work for some of the telecommunication companies. Some of the telecommunication companies have very outdated systems that they're trying to port over to newer, more state-of-the-art stuff. But while they're doing this, they need people to maintain the old stuff. And what they've done is they've gotten rid of a lot of the people, or they take full-time employees, they convert them to contractors so that the overhead is less, or they'll hire somebody from the outside to forgive the expression, but babysit it, and though it's not strategic. So you have to understand the landscape that you're going into. All of these things can be different. Now, if you are a contract, so the last scenario is if you are a contractor and you are going on a contract to perm or temp to perm or whatever you want to call it, but ultimately where they would convert you to a full-time employee, then you negotiate. Then the only difference at that point, as far as all my negotiation tactics are concerned, is they already know what they're paying you, right, per hour. That's fine. But they now understand the impact you can have. You have a better understanding of what they'll be like to work with. You know what you're getting, you'll know what you're foregoing and all that good stuff. Negotiate appropriately, right? But you're going to pad it. If you're making $50 an hour straight and they're paying you, 1099, or that's what you're getting. If you're getting $50 through a staffing company, the staffing company has you marked up. So the staffing company might be charging $65 an hour for you. They're giving you $50, they're keeping $15. You need to understand all of this stuff so that when you negotiate, because I'm making $50 now, that translates to a $100,000 salary, just straight time, no benefits, right? So if I know that they're giving the company 65, I know that the company should add the benefits on top of the 65, not the 50, right? If you want to equate what it should truly cost them, that is a good rule of thumb. So $65 an hour is $130,000 a year. It's 2,000 hours of fast rule of thumb. You would have to add all the healthcare, all the vacation days, all the training costs, all the other stuff on top of that. So think about that. You could be negotiating for 160 at that point. So you just gotta keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Hope that helps. And I hope I hit the scenario you were trying to get at there. All right, Evelyn O. Hey Evelyn, still got your stuff in my queue. Don't worry, I'm working it. Suggestions on elevator pitch when changing careers and answering the question, who are you? So I would just focus on describing yourself, how you want to portray yourself going forward. And if you need to, Evelyn, not to overcomplicate this, but because I could give you a lot more feedback if you just give me the elevator pitch. So the rule of thumb for everybody is the elevator pitch is designed to identify who you are, what you do, for whom you do it, and how they benefit, and you can do it all in one sentence. You really could. You really should. So I always say we're all a noun and a verb, right? I coach people, right? I teach people, that kind of stuff. You do something. You sell software, right? You cook the books, that kind of thing. So when you are changing careers, you don't have the history necessarily behind you. However, you have a lot of the elevator pitch could be relatively generic and encapsulate, who you've been and who you want to be going forward. And I would just start using it. You know what I mean? I would just start wherever it is you want to go. This is my focus. I'm a whatever, right? Senior human resource. I'm a, HR professional, or I'm a whatever, people professional, or whatever you want to call yourself. And if you are not sure, put the pitch in the boot camp, and I will in module 1, and I will go and I will help you with it specifically. April P, hope some of that helped you. Steve G, hey, Kathleen, good morning to you. I have your email in my queue. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I will. Jason Garrity, my boot camper 1 and 2. All right, interviewing with several companies prior to the first interview. Interviewing with several companies. Oh, and prior to the first interview, they have you take assessment tests, both behavioral and cognitive. I understand the behavior. However, the cognitive ones where you have 15 minutes to answer 50 math questions, like the Wonderlic is a popular one. What are they trying to find out about you here? You can do math without a calculator and answer all the questions. I am familiar with this. So I'm going to give you two responses here. One is going to be an opinion, and the other one is going to be the answer to the question that you're asking, but my opinion hopefully is going to help you recognize or at least understand how I feel about these tests. So when organizations give you those kinds of tests, so what Jason is referring to, if nobody's taken these before, is he's talking about, there's like a Wonderlic test where you got 50 questions. They usually give you 12 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that, depending on what it is they're trying to get at. These are general aptitude tests. They can be given for anybody at any position. They are wholly inaccurate in predicting the future success of an employer. And I got a great story on this one for you. My opinion is So the companies, Jason, to answer your question, I think the companies are just trying to get, in that particular example you gave me, a general level of smarts. That's it for that one. And if you guys don't know these tests, it's like Johnny went to the store, he had a bag full of 12 oranges, this shape, that shape, just a goofy little thing. So what some companies believe is that your aptitude is going to determine whether you're going to be successful. I believe that these tests are horse crap and in predicting whether you actually will be a great employee, because every aptitude test, the ones that Jason has described, are identified to test your smarts and brains in an inert state, which is not how anybody operates on any given day at any company doing anything. So when I go into the office in the morning, I've got, did I get a good night's sleep? Are things are awesome with my wife, I'm more joyful. Things are stressful with my children, I'm strung out. I had a fight with my buddy. Oh my God, the market's tanking. Oh my goodness, the customers are yelling. Oh, my boss is freaked out. He's about to lose his job. You're trying to operate in an environment with all that stuff going on all the time, right? We never have the perfect environment, so we always have to factor our behavior, our operating procedures, and so forth. True story. Had a client that was a client of Mile Walks. This client had about 500 people in the company. We recruited very, very senior people for them, people making $500,000, give or take, or more. And we recruited a lot of them, like 30 some odd, over the course of a few years. Every person that we started recruiting, and they didn't have to they didn't have to take these tests. They went into the process, they went into the interviews and so on, and then they hired a bunch of people, and then those people were crushing it. Somewhere along the way, after about a year of this, the chief operating officer says to me, Andy, we're going to start having everybody take, just like what you're saying. We want them to come in, and on the first interview day, we want them to take the Wonderlic test and the so on and so forth. So what do you want to do that for? She says, well, we want to, we're going to make this part so we can evaluate how successful they'll be and so on. And I says, well, that's ridiculous. And she said, well, we're actually going to test everybody in the company so that we have an indication of basically the current employees who'd never taken this. Everybody was going to have to take this test. So tell you what, bet you the biggest, fattest, most expensive dinner you can think of that you will not be able to draw a correlation of your superstars and how they score on this test. She says, you're on. So everybody gets tested, they get benchmarked, and right, because people have rankings. You're a top performer, you're a mid performer, you're a bottom performer, and there was absolutely no conclusion that they can draw. And the people that were super bright, successful, running major units were the ones who were scoring lower than some of the other people in these other areas. And some of those people were doing well, and some of those people were not doing well. So she bought me a big fat dinner, and I really ran up the bill. But that's the truth, and I mean that's a true story, and that's truly how I feel about it. And I would challenge any of you to go find that these things actually work. The one he's talking about. I mean, and it was the same kind of test. It was a 12-minute, 50-question Wonderlic test. That was the one we bet on. So that's probably more than you wanted to know, but I love that story, and it's true. It's true. Chase Winter, how you doing, new boot camper? Yes, I know. Thank that wife of yours. 4 years ago, I worked a year with Russian media in DC. Since I've been with a more respected since I've been with a more respected outlet. Should I take that experience off my CV since Russian media isn't popular? So I am. Wait, you got another one here. Having Russian state media on my resume after alleged election interference may not look good to some media outlets. So I'm only going to give you my initial reaction and how I would perceive this. The fact that that's where you worked is not an indictment of you. And the fact that there are these allegations going on that may or may not have been proven in somebody's eyes, to me, is irrelevant. I want to understand what it is that you do, who it is that you are, and it is. I always recommend that people don't get into politics and those kind of things on their resume unless it's applicable to the jobs they're interviewing for. And so, because then you do run the risk of somebody having those political biases where, hey, if you just decided to campaign for the Republicans or the Democrats or whatever in the most recent election and you volunteered and you want to put that in your volunteer section, my recommendation to people is that could be as damaging as age bias or anything else. You just don't know what you're going to get. So if it's not necessarily germane, my recommendation is take it off. You proud of it, you want to keep it on, totally okay. But in your case, you actually work there. So my recommendation is I would leave it and I would see what happens. And I would see if you get any feedback overtly or if you interpret or infer covertly. So that's my reaction. That's my reaction, because if somebody does a background check on you, then that's likely going to come up. And I'm more of the opinion that it's better coming from you up front and just get it out there in your own words and control the narrative than me coming to you saying, hey, we discovered on the background check that you also worked for this company. You didn't put this on your resume. Now you're in explanation mode. That's never good. That's never good. So that's my thought there, Chase. Hope that helped. And hope we're going to see you on Wednesday next week. Actually, let me give the little boot camp announcement. So we throughout the year, for those of you who are not familiar with the Job Search Bootcamp, it is a complete framework, soup to nuts. It's got 5 base modules and then a number of sub-modules with specialties, but it covers everything from self-awareness, who you are, why you are, your elevator pitch, all your requirements, your happiness stuff, how to evaluate for it, through marketing yourself, cover letters, LinkedIn, resume writing, then job searching, how do you bring yourself to market, all the best tactics, how to network. There's a whole sub-module on networking for job searching. I give you the concepts, the philosophies, 10 networking templates that I've already copywritten for you. I go on to interviewing, and it's not just interviewing, it's interviewing of all kinds, in all places, and all facets. And there's extra specialties in the interviewing too, evaluating small to medium-sized companies and other things that you need to do. And then all of the money stuff. So it's not just negotiation in the 5th module, it's everything you need to do from the beginning of time and applying, and how you handle all the discussions throughout the process, and how to make sure you're accumulating leverage so that when you get to the end, you can negotiate the heck out of that salary. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there related to specialty stuff. There's a career changer module. There's an executive and over 50 module. There's also a module that is going to become incredibly valuable. That is a specialty and the adjustments you need to make at the highest hiring times of the year, which are generally November through February. So all of that is in there too, and a number of other things. You get about 30 live sessions with me throughout the year, private live boot camper sessions. One of them is next Wednesday, and then about a month later, we're going to go into a week of 5 of these in a row. And we've got some specialty stuff coming up that I'm going to be teaching in that 5-week batch as well. But it's really sweet. We dropped the price $100, which we do in our promotions. You can go check out the page and all the details. You also get my $400 Career Accelerator program as well, which is really, really sweet. So check that out. Like I said, you're not going to be getting any emails about this till maybe Monday or Tuesday next week, and then the session is Wednesday, and then the deadline's over. Then you got to wait another month. So I hope you check that out, and it's really good. If you get in now, you'll have the whole week to kind of run through it. I've even shot a video in there that highlights how I would go through the program, like how I would actually watch it, what I would study, what I would do, and so on. So I direct you there as well. So it's really, really, really nice. And we've got lots of people in it and lots of testimonials, and which you'll also be seeing. And you might have even, if you were at the goal setting masterclass, you probably saw some video reels and other things from people. Actually, I just got a couple of more movies today from people that were sending me some things. All right. Ashish, I have to go through 3 rounds of interviews, group discussion, psychometric written and interview, technical plus HR face-to-face. How to prepare for these as it's so vast. Ashish, if you head to my YouTube channel, I have an interviewing playlist. Every one of those, with the exception of the psychometric written, is covered. So you get all the base interviewing stuff that I cover. You get group interview stuff. There's a video in there. You get, when you talk about the HR face-to-face, there's even videos that I have about questions you should be asking in the early processes, the screen with the recruiter, the initial interviews. I even go through what to do on the second interview and so forth. The Interview Intervention book, which I don't have handy, is free. I send it anywhere in the world if you pay the $7 for packing and materials. Grab that. And then the other thing that I would watch is my free webinar called 3 Keys to Ace Any Job Interview. You can find all that stuff on the Mile Walk Academy website. So I hope that helps. Miss Clancy, annual convention in 2 weeks, and the company I want to work for is an exhibitor. Awesome. How do I approach? You walk up and you say, hi, my name's Miss Clancy. Should I give my resume? The convention app has virtual business cards for attendees. That's pretty cool. So I would check out my video about how to use your 5 minutes at a job fair to get an interview. I realize this is a convention. Similar concepts apply. And if it's me, I would go up there. I'd say, hey, I've been interested in your company for a long time because... But like I almost would talk like I'm in an interview. That's literally how I think. So I'm going to go up and they're just interviewing me right there. I just decided that's when I want to have the interview. That's when I'm ready. That's when I'm fresh as a daisy. I'd go up there. Hey, I was really interested in meeting you. Actually, you're the first booth I've come up to because, I've been researching you. I'm so fascinated because I noticed that and so on. And then almost then stop. Then let them say something and then go from there. That's how I would do it. And then, work your way into how awesome you are and all that good stuff. Wayne's email. Love that. Andy, in an interview, if the interviewer gives a negative response to how you answer a question, how, if anything, would you do to smooth it over? Depends what the negative response is. If he's talking to Chase, my boot camper, and says, I don't like your politics, that's one thing. If it's, hey, I don't like the answer you gave me to my behavioral interview question where I asked you about telling me about a time when you and a coworker disagreed, that's so when I coach business owners on their products and how they're going to market, how to interact with their customers and so forth, one of the things that I always have to convey to them is the quality of anything, your product, what you say, your service, what you do, what you deliver, and so on, is subjective. That is subjective. So you have to look at what their subjectivity is focusing on. And I can't give you all the scenarios of how I would respond to which ones those are. But if it's something where they didn't like the answer you gave or the sample you chose, then I would just say, oh, okay, if that one didn't provide you the information that you need, because basically it was a dumb interview question, how about this? How about you let me know what was important for you to glean, those skills, those traits or whatever, I could tell you about those, or give me some ideas of the types of samples you're looking for, and I'll give you another story. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Then what you have to do is you have to gauge why they didn't, what the negative response was about, and then you got to take them down to where you need to go in order to sell yourself. Now, I will tell you this: when it comes to building my business, servicing you guys, building stuff for the community, my success for my business, I am an incredibly, incredibly patient person. And if you could live with me for a day or a year, you would agree. Now, when it comes to situations like this, where you are in an interview, you've got an interviewer across the table, and the interviewer is unprepared, has not looked at your resume, has no clue what job you're interviewing for, doesn't like the answer because they don't like the sample you gave them to the crappy interview question that they asked you, and so on, I don't have any patience for that. So my view is they're racking up negative points as far as being an employer that is worthy of having me. And I would say the same thing to you. I want you to know your worth. And I want you to make sure that if that negative response was an off-colored remark, if it was age-related, sex-related, any of that stuff, I would have no, that's just a sign of what's to come. And if they're interviewing you poorly in your estimation, they're poor interviewers. They're probably poor selectors of people. It's not going to be a great place to work. These are the kind of things that I think about when I get in there. I know it's probably a little more color than you wanted, but that's, smoothing it over. It depends what you're smoothing over. Some things are not worth smoothing over. Some things are worth getting up and going. But here again, if you want to tell me what that, can you give me a little more on that exchange? I'll come back to that. I'll give you more, for sure. Yes, Chase, Evelyn is one of our beloved boot campers, and she's pretty awesome. Dan C, how you doing? Dan, did you change your picture? Great to have you. Yes, Dan is racking up the Mile Walk Academy medallions, and I've got your and Josh's book sitting on my desk. So looking forward to seeing you. All right, let me see. Where'd we go? Oh, slip of a hand. God, I hate when I do that. All right, hang on. I'm getting it back. April from Arizona. Hey. Kathleen Phillips. Hey. Jonathan Paine, one of my faves. Just want to say thank you for continuing to be awesome. Thank you, buddy, for continuing to engage, and I'm hoping the meetup is going to be great. Again, folks, tomorrow, Chicago, 2 p.m. Central Time, Bub City in Rosemont. Check your emails. I'm not sending any more emails about that either. So I sent you one last week. I sent you a little note Tuesday in the digest. I sent you a little note today in the reminder. So if you're in Chicago, come on by. If you want to come, just email support@milewalk.com and we will do what we can to get you there. Kathleen, yes. Andy, when you're interviewing and you say speak their lingo, what exactly do you mean? Can you give an example? I sure can. So, for everybody, what Kathleen is referring to is I have a storytelling methodology that I've developed that is the best analogy that I could give you is it is my standard way to answer any type of job interview question. That's a question that's behavioral in nature. So if you go back into your history and they're asking you about times when, tell me about this. How'd you do that project? Tell me about a time when you failed. We did that the other day, right? Or they ask you about the future. How would you handle this problem? What are you looking for in the way of this, that, and the other thing? Whatever. So they're either going to ask you about your past or they're going to ask you about your future. And inside Interview Intervention, which is the first book that I wrote, which is the book I mentioned that you can grab for free, I wrote about this and I outlined the 5 key points that you need to do in order to tell a story that's effective and is believable, makes you likable, and connects with the interviewer. One of those items in the 5 or actually 6 step methodology is talking in their lingo, which is basically talking in their language. So, Kathleen, what I was getting at is when you are interacting with an executive, you need to be speaking at a high level, not at the bits and bytes level. When you're interacting with the human resources professional, you don't want to be talking the mechanics of how you're doing the job so much. You want to get at the types of things that they would understand, the culture, the career development, opportunities and those kind of things. That's the subject matter. So getting them in the zone of what they're knowledgeable about, what they can speak to, and you make sure that the discussion that you're having, the stories you're telling and the questions you're asking are in that zone. Then when you start to use language, you need to make sure that you're using language that person would understand. So if I'm speaking to an HR person, I don't want to be using acronyms that I was using at my last company that only my last company knows. That's the specific language. So I don't want to be speaking to the HR person about how I coded this line and how the program really blew up because I didn't have the right break in the code and this and that, and I didn't code the if-then statement correctly or whatever. So that's what I'm talking about. So just make sure that they're understanding you. And then what you need to do is look for their feedback, right? Are they nodding in agreement and yeah, I get it? Or do they have those puzzled looks on their face? So are you in the content area that is relevant for them? Right? Is it, you could be talking to the senior executive, but you don't want to be talking about the benefits and the vacation days with him or her. You want to be talking about corporate strategy, how they're going to market, what they see the challenges are, and so forth. And then you want to use the words that they're going to understand as well. That's what I was getting at. So I hope that helps. All right. Deborah, new boot camper. Hey, St. Paul, Minnesota. We got a number of boot campers from the Minnesota area. I don't know if Kat Harrison Peterson is on this. She's probably not, because she's probably at that new job making twice her old salary. And Dana Demand is there, we know. Got a lot of people from Minnesota. Great to have you. Kevin Peterson, hey, yes, you are in the leadership program. Love that. April P, I just discovered Andy's videos yesterday. Super excited about the info and have already begun to help me. Thank you. Can we all, I'm assuming that if you just found me yesterday, this is your first live office hours. So can we all give April P a big Thursday live office hour hug from the community? And while you're at it, while we're hugging, can you hit the little thumbs up button on the video if you're loving this and share it? Because I love to help people, and getting the stuff in front of them helps them. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my Tuesday and Thursday live shows, as well as my weekly Tuesday videos. Okay. Gary, boot camper, hey, how you doing? Krista, look who's back in the house. Hey, did you have your interview yesterday? Oh, today. No, it's in a few hours. Okay, good luck, my dear. John, how are you? Maryland. Every time I think of Maryland, I think of crab cakes, and I mean that in a good way. All right, Gary, I'm interviewing with several companies and getting that I'm overqualified. I have written the proper response, but still not getting hired. Frustrating, as I know well qualified. So, Gary, I think you know this, but I have an overqualified video. Check that out. It's on YouTube. It's an oldie but goodie. There's Kara. Hey. Nelson Martinez. Hi, how is the best way to handle applying and interviewing for a job you are qualified for, but at a much bigger company? Going from an organization of 150 to 3,000 equal 5 to 10 times in P&L responsibility. Nelson, great question, but I will tell you this. Going from a company of 150 to 3,000 is not that big a leap. And not to minimize, it's awesome. I know 150-person companies that are killer. I know 10-person companies that are killer. And I know 3,000-person companies that are awesome. And I know 3,000-person companies that are stinky. So you've got 5 to 10 times the P&L responsibility. But, your pyramid looks like this, or it looks like, this. It's not that big a deal. It really is not. So you're going to have more direct reports. You're going to have a larger support unit. You're going to have a larger sales team. You're going to have a whatever. So I wouldn't even give that a second thought. Hit it and go. That's it. Your focus should be on what you can do, not the fact that you haven't done this for a 3,000 person organization. It's the fact that you know how to manage a P&L. It's just a bit bigger portfolio. That's it. I would not, don't you draw attention to it. I wouldn't. I don't think you need to. And I have too much history on my side that says that those are not the traits that'll blow you out. It's not that, well, you haven't managed that many people before. It's just a bigger org chart, right? You might have had 2 or 3 direct reports. Now you got 5 or 6 direct reports. That's all it is. I wouldn't be too concerned. Alan Burgers, hey. Imad, hey. The Fixer. Jason, how are you? Okay. Abhishek? I don't know I think that's how you say your name. How to stay sane in workplace when you are provided low quality work and the productive work is given to a select few irrespective of being equally talented and hardworking. So the first thing that I would want to understand is, so on the sanity part, you control your sanity. Sanity comes from within. Sanity is never stolen, you give it away. So you've got to catch your breath, and you got to focus on what you can control. What can you control in this instance? Your attitude. You can control trying to get the feedback as to, why is the work being allocated this way? There may be something going on behind the scenes that you're not aware of. If there is nothing going on behind the scenes that you're aware of and somebody's got it out for you, I'd want to know that. But I would want to try to get to the bottom of it. And then what I would do is if it's, hey, we think these people are a little bit better equipped, then I would want to know, okay, that's great. If I respect your choice, is there anything I can do to become more equipped so that I could focus and work on those other things and grow my skills or whatever it is. Beyond that, I would focus on that stuff because I can control that. And then if it gets to the point where you've had enough and the answers are unacceptable and you're not getting the opportunities, then that's what usually pushes you out the door, right? And then you go and you look. So I focus only on what I can control. I do. I can't make you guys come to a live show. What can I control? Showing up, being prepared, being enthusiastic, being empathetic to your situation, all that good stuff. I don't control the questions you ask me, right? I can't control what you do with the information that I give you and all that. I could just keep coming back, being there to support you, and so on. I know 97% of you will not enroll in my programs. That's okay. That's simple math. That's the world's math, okay? It's not good or bad for me, but I know that the 3% of you that do enroll are going to get the best service I can possibly give you, and so on. So just focus on what you can control. That's how you stay sane. That's how you stay sane. The other thing that I actually do is I practice a lot of gratitude, like many times throughout the day in different forms and fashions. But one thing that I always do is my first reaction to 99% of stuff that occurs to me, and I would put that in air quotes, is I know that everything that happens to me, life happens for me, not to me, and everything that happens to me is for my own good. So something happened to me, and I look at it positively. We had somebody, I don't know if she's here, a new boot camper. I won't call out her name, but if you're in the boot camp, this is a pretty good story. And she goes into the section to contact me, says, hey, Andy, I've got this interview today. I just broke my foot. What do I do? Because I called to see if I could reschedule it, and the people on the phone said I had to come in today. And so I was able to get it for later in the day. I said, and I called out her name. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the best. Now, obviously, I want you to be okay, but think about what this just does for you. You get to go to an interview now on crutches and say to them, you know what this job was, tell me I don't want this job, right? I would have been here a few hours ago, but I figured I wanted to walk for the rest of my life. So after this sucker got casted up, I came over, right? I don't know why she broke her ankle, but maybe, something like that pushes her over the top so that she gets this job. But that's how I'm wired. So it takes time, it takes practice, but that is something I would encourage all of you to do, that everything that happens is happening for your benefit. It really, really is. I'm sure there are probably some things you could make a good argument and I wouldn't know what to say to, but 99%, let's just say 99%, so we can leave room that's just sometimes bad, dumb luck things happen. But that's how I would I would try to adjust my perspective. I hope that helps. Tiffany Sims, hey, it's been a while. Andy, I'm interviewing for my first web developer position. Should I have a salary expectation, or should my focus be on getting in the door? I don't think anybody should have a salary expectation. Anybody interviewing for anything at any time. I think you should focus on going in and crushing it. And if you want to break, if you are changing companies, doing the same job, and you want to get into that company, if you are a career changer trying to break into a new line of work, also in a different company or even in your current company, my focus is you got a long life. You do have a long life. Life is not short. Life is long. We waste a lot of it. You got plenty of time. The longer term you think, the better short-term decisions you'll make. So, Tiffany, for you, I'm thinking get in the door. You got to get me something reasonable, right? And you also have your expenses and you got to live. And I don't know what your family life looks like, or if it's just you or you and the dogs or you and the family or whatever. But you have a certain minimum that you probably need. But I would have a good handle on that. So I would make sure I wasn't cutting myself off. But that's how I view it. And then going and focus on doing well. The better you do, the more they'll pay. The more experience you bring to the table, the more they're willing to pay. So in your case, if you're just trying to get your foot in the door, that's your goal. That's your number one goal. That would be my focus. All right. Alan Burgers, what is a good way to put skills list on a resume with mix of skills from job experience and recent training? Training skills are important because I'm transitioning to a new career direction. You are correct. Okay, a couple things. So we've been doing more homework with one of our boot campers, in fact, Charles, I don't know if he's here, on applicant tracking systems and skills and keywords and what that does to the readability and the desirability of your resume when companies are programming their applicant tracking systems to review your resume. Now, there's multiple, what's the expression I'm looking for? Is basically multiple entities you're trying to appeal to. So you've got the humans, right, the readers of your resume, and you've got the machine reader of your resume. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit here for both. If you are, Alan, if you're familiar with my resume template, and for those of you that are not, just make this really simple. There's a summary at the top. I call it a career profile. There's a section for career highlights. Those are very specific accomplishments, maybe 3. And then there is your work experience or your professional experience, then your education. And I like the education at the bottom if you're a tenured professional. However, if you are changing careers and you've recently gotten education or certifications or other things, you want to roll the education below the career profile but near the top, I'm cool with that. But as Alan's asked me about the skills, one thing that I do not personally like, I also don't think you get a lot of credit for it with the applicant tracking systems, and lots of recruiters know it's a bunch of bunk when you list out a whole bunch in tabular form of all these skills and all these things that you have because at the top of your resume, because you don't have a lot of context. Now, in my format, there's 2 paragraphs to the career profile. The first one is a summary of who you are. Remember, I just got done saying we all have a noun and a verb, sold and managed services, right? Built departments, marketed these kind of products, implemented these technology solutions or whatever. So we're giving the reviewer and the machine a summary of who we are. And then what I like to do below that is have a list of core competencies. These list of core competencies should make sense. The skills that you have in business function format or technical skills or technical languages or there's some other things too that you can put in there. But that is a listing separated by commas of the different business functions, I call them core competencies, that you have. That would go right below the career profile, the first paragraph of the career profile. And the reason that goes below there, that's partly for the machine with keywords, but it also should reinforce what you just described. So if you're a senior project manager and you're telling me you managed 15 projects over the course of your career with budgets of totaling up to $15 million, cool, right, for various Fortune 500 companies or whatever. And then I see in the next paragraph, steering committee management, project plan, work plan management, team management, requirements gathering, facilitation, so on. All these other things that then continue to go on to support what I would expect from a senior project manager. That makes sense. Now, the applicant tracking system prefers that your keyword alignment is embodied in the professional experience or work experience section, because it's trying to queue up, well, how much of that experience does that person have? Did they do it from 2010 to present? Therefore, they've got 9 years of this kind of project management. So the applicant tracking system we're coming to discover is favoring keywords inside the work experience. So it's not just important for you to list out the skills, but it's also important for you to list the skills where you gained them, and you are going to get more credit if the machine can read that you've had it between these dates, X number of years. You're going to score higher. Okay, so that's important for you to know. The other thing is, if what I also tell people to do is you can list the most important eye-catching skills that you have at the top. So if you're a technologist and you want to say, or maybe you're a project manager, let's do that one a little bit easier. If you're a project manager and you know different project management methodologies, you could say, know various methodologies such as PMBOK or whatever you want to call out, because the job description said, hey, we're looking for somebody with this methodology. Move that to the top of the resume, and then at the bottom of the sprinkle it throughout your resume and the work experience. And at the bottom of the resume, if you have a lot of different skills or a lot of different languages or a lot of different certifications or whatever, you can have a section down there that says, certified in this, certified in this, certified in this, training there, training there, training there. And that's okay, but I prefer that to be at the bottom where it's really full. I don't like an obnoxious listing at the top. I like you to pull forward the things that are going to carry the day, the greatest weight for what you think that employer is going to want to see. Does that make sense? So career profile gives you a summary of who you are. Then it gives you a listing of your core competencies. Then you go into highlights. Then you go into your work section. But if you have, but the skills section itself, if it's big, should go to the bottom. So I hope that. By the way, so everybody's gonna say. So you've probably heard me say, if you've watched enough of my videos, the top half of the front page is the most important piece of real estate you have, and it's important to grab the attention of the reviewer. That's for the human. Okay, so think about it. When I open the resume, I want it to be eye-catching. So that's what's most important to me. Now, I'm gonna zip down the column. I'm gonna flip the page or look on the screen, and I look at the whole second page, but I don't read the whole second page like start up at the top, scan across, and read this way. I look, oh, there's more work. Oh, there's the education. So seconds, then seconds on the education, then into the skills section. So just because the skills is at the bottom doesn't mean I'm not looking at it. As a matter of fact, I've skipped a lot of the stuff at the top and zipped down to the bottom because there's a skills section and I want to look at the list. So remember, if you're looking at the 2 pages worth of your resume, it's not like it's okay, start at the left up top, read, and then all the way, and then go to the next page and read. It's glance, next page, what's on it, glance, like that. So you'll get it. I hope that helps. I know that was a little bit long, but I think it was important for you to hear all of that. So I hope that helps. And if you are in the boot camp, we are gonna go into more depth on the applicant tracking system stuff that I was just mentioning that you just caught a few snippets to. I don't know that we're going to get into it on the 18th because there's actually more time and evaluation that I want to spend. So it's probably going to be just a couple weeks later, but you're going to get a whole special module on that. So I hope you jump in. Plus you have me now and you can ask me questions and I can tell you that kind of stuff. Joe Winter from Louisville. Hey, buddy, 2 interviews tomorrow. Lots of luck. Can we all give Joe Winter, our beloved boot camper, some love and hugs and fingers and toes? And my legs are crossed underneath my Swiss ball underneath my desk on my Swiss ball right now. And I think Nelson asked me that again. Alina, earlier message got deleted. Don't worry, we caught it. Alex. How important are for anybody who doesn't know that KNEZEVICSA1 is Alex. So when you hear me say Alex, that's who Alex is. How important are feedback comments on LinkedIn, and how many should I have? When you say feedback comments, do you mean recommendations? So I will tell you this. I like it when you have recommendations and I don't read them. So if you go to I haven't asked anybody for a recommendation, and I couldn't tell you how long. But people will plop them up there, and there's probably 75 of them or 80. I don't know how many are there. There's a bunch. If I go to your LinkedIn profile and I see you've got, sorry, something's flashing. Everything's good. Okay. And I see you got a whole bunch. That's cool. I like that. If I don't see you have any, that's not good. So I'm not saying you got to go and have 100, but I would try to get some on there. I think it says something about the people that you've worked with and how they feel about you, and I think it says a lot about you. But I would try to give some, and then ask people if they'd be willing to say, hey, listen, I'd be happy. I'm gonna write one for you, no matter what. I'd love it if you could reciprocate. I'm in the middle of job searching, and I can really use the help. I just be honest. That's what I would do. All right. Jenny Hinkle from Indiana. Jenny, are you going to get in the boot camp or not? Come on, it's on special now. Yun Embley? Question, I have already spoken to the recruiter and have not heard from the hiring. Oop, I see something down there. Manager, and it's been a week. I have already reached out to the recruiter for no contact, but my question is, shall I reach out to a current employee so she can reach out to him, the hiring manager? She and I used to work together at a previous company and said that she would reach out to him. In your case, so now, I would not normally recommend that, but in your case, if you've worked with this friend of yours, your contact, and she said, hey, this is cool, I could go reach out to the hiring manager, I know him or her, whatever it is, I'm okay with that. I really am. So like a little nudge. But that stuff can be sensitive, but in your case, the way you described it, go knock your socks off. All right. Alina got another one. Wait, I think that was the same stuff. Uzoma. Hey, from London. I didn't know you were from London. London, so 6 o'clock, maybe? 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I didn't get the job I interviewed for, but I'd known that the interview wanted me to focus on a different part of their business. I would have adjusted my answers appropriately. Oh, wait, hang on. I think I missed one. Sorry. Hi, Andy. Is Uzoma from London. I went for a second interview I thought went really well. However, the feedback I got was that I would be better suited for a different part of the business. Okay, that's not terrible. I didn't get the job I interviewed for, but if I'd known that the interviewer wanted me to focus on the different part of their business, I would have adjusted my answers appropriately. Where's your third? What kind of questions can I ask to avoid this happening in the future interviews? This is a fantastic question. And Uzoma, actually, I don't know if you've, I'm trying to think if I've, so I'm thinking if I put this in the webinar, but I know this is in the interview intervention book, and all of you should be asking the closing question about, do you have any reservations about hiring me? If you would have asked that question, that interviewer likely would have said, well, the thing that I'm noticing is you might be better suited for this other area. Reservations come in one of 3 forms. And this is the entire premise and the foundation upon which interview intervention and my communication methodology is built, is the fact that you have a greater likelihood of not getting hired because of a communication misunderstanding. You didn't actually exchange information fully, right? The message was not transferred completely. At the end of the interview, at the very end, at least at the end, as a safety net, if not earlier, you need to make sure that any of those misunderstandings are surfaced. They usually can be surfaced with one question. By the way, I'm not going to flower up all of this stuff, but basically you want to get at, do you have any reservations? Reservations come in one of 3 forms. They either misunderstood something you said, in which case you can now clarify it, or in your case, the second part, they made an assumption that you didn't have experience because for whatever reason, they didn't ask the question, they asked it, you missed it. Who knows, okay? That was your misunderstanding. Or the third one is they have a reservation. It is a legit reservation, in which case you can now dampen it. But when you look at the first couple I mentioned, if they misunderstood something you said, you can clean it up. If they made a false assumption, which is the single greatest error on the interviewer's part, because they made an assumption that you could or could not do something, right? In your case, it was a penalty. Sometimes it works to your favor. And you didn't know it. You didn't know it until it was too late. So what that person probably would have said is, well, based on your background, based on this discussion, I'm thinking you might be a better suited for this other area, because in which case you then would have said, oh, I didn't realize you were interested in understanding this experience that I have. I'd love to share that with you because I do think that fits what you're looking for. That's your safety net. So that's what I would do. If you do not have the interview intervention book, please get it. Okay, I ship it to London, I ship it to Australia, we ship it to Asia, we ship it to India, we ship it to South America, South Africa, we ship it everywhere. $7 US. So grab that. And you get the ebook instantly and the audiobook too. I think that would really help. All right. Just trying to zip through here. I think we got some cross there. Hey, Carrie Freeman. Good luck on your interview. Cecilia from London. Hi from London. How long should employers give candidates to respond to a job offer? Cecilia, great question. Kara, can you make a note for me? I want to shoot a video on this one. So this is a great, great question. I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. There's no set time, but let me tell you what determines the time. So the longer you are in an interview process. Whoop, I'm going the wrong way. Oh my God, this is there we go. The longer you're in the interview process, the shorter you need to decide. The shorter you are in the interview process, the longer you can take to decide. Why is that the case? Well, if your interview took a month, soup to nuts, right? End to end, you should know by now. Right? Like, you should know you got a lot of think time in there. You got a lot of information in there. You talk to a lot of people in there. You shouldn't need 2 weeks to determine if you want to work there. However, if you're interviewing with some other organizations, that should have been communicated during the month. Okay, so if you got stuff going on, when it starts going on, if you're interviewing for a month and 2 weeks in, you get an interview with another employer, you call this employer and you say, I just want to let you know I started interviewing with another employer. Okay, but then that's a whole nother juggling point. But if you started interviewing, you had a phone screen. 2 days later, they said, "Hey, Cecilia, you're awesome. Come on in. We want to panel you up. 5 interviews in a row. You're going to meet 10 people or whatever." You haven't had enough soak time. You haven't had, and I advise employers on this too. You haven't given her enough time to fall in love with you yet and come to grips with the fact that she wants to work here and so forth. So you need to give her some time to think about it. Or better yet, you need to give her some time, and while she thinks about it, you need to keep communicating with her. Like, do you have any more questions? What else? Because if it's really compressed, fact matter is you likely blew it. You likely, not because you didn't know what you were doing, you just didn't have enough time to get all your questions answered and all that good stuff. So you want to make sure that you do that. So the shorter the interview process, time calendar-wise, the longer you should have. So you might have a week-long interview process, and you might need a week to decide. So it depends. There are a number of factors, but I really don't like when employers say, "Here's Cecilia, here's the offer. We need to know by the end of the day." What you really want to do is you want to get the offer. This is ideal. Andy, we're giving you the offer. Awesome. Give me the offer. Let me look at it. Hey, is there any wiggle room? I don't care what the offer is, right? Is there any wiggle room? I just want to know. There's a whole concatenation of what you need to say in response to their response to that question, but you need to plant the seed that you need wiggle room, or you want to know if there's wiggle room, and you need a little time to digest this. You want to be grateful. Thank you so much. Okay, is there any wiggle room? There may or may not be. Go ahead, you go off and check. Let me go think about this. I want to review it in detail. I'm going to get back to you by, or we're going to get back to each other by tomorrow, the next day, Monday, whatever, right? Whatever it is, and then the determination of what's going to be discussed on that day is going to be determined based on how that exchange went. So if I say, is there any wiggle room? And they say, what do you want? I say, I don't know. I need to look through this. I'll get back to you by Monday with what I want. Or they might say, no wiggle room. So, okay, I'll get back to you Monday with my answer. Okay, Wait, I'm not sure if there's wiggle room. I got to go check. All right, fine, you go check. You get back to me Monday with what you found out, if there's wiggle room and what we can play with. Then that's going to add days. All of that's okay. So the answer to how long is determined by how long you've been in the process. When you get the interview, then what has to occur? They blow you away. This is it. I'm good. What's really the best is they blow you away. You say, this is nice, beautiful, thank you. Just give me a few moments to kind of look through everything. And if they totally blow you away to the point where asking for more would be insulting, because there is such a thing, that's what you want, then you can just come back and say, hey, look, you know what? I'm great. Everything's fine. I want to read it through. Just make sure there's nothing funky that I can't see. But I'm sure we're going to make this work, and I'll get back to you in a day or later today or in an hour or whatever. So that's what you really want, right? You want it to be fast. You want it to be fast, or one iteration. So I hope that helps. All right. Azo Algerian follower, love my content. I love you back. Love you back. Jenny Hinkle, how do you handle getting asked a behavioral interview question that is very scenario specific, and you haven't dealt with that scenario before? Brain fearfully tries to connect a story to fit that doesn't. Jenny, honest to goodness, I know this might not be a ton of help, but if somebody is going to ask me a question that is scenario specific and I don't have a scenario, I'm going to say, I don't have a scenario for you for that. Do you want to amend the question? That's what I would actually say, because that is every time a job interviewer asks you a question that is scenario specific, they run the risk that you don't have the scenario. And that has to be something that they're willing to deal with. As much as I would love to share with you a story as it relates to that, I simply don't have one. The closest thing I have is this. And then you give them whatever you got. But what I would do before I started telling them that story is I would say, do you think that would be close enough for what you're looking for? That's it. That'd be my only backup. And then I'd go from there. All right, let me try to squeeze a few more in here because I got to get rolling. All right. Miss Tish, I've worked at a job for 14 years, ready to leave. How do I create the best resume? You go to my free webinar called 3 Secrets to Get Your Resume Noticed. You watch that. Then you go to my resume playlist on my YouTube channel and you watch How to Build the Ultimate Professional Resume, and you watch that free video. All that stuff's free. Then what you can do is, if you're really loving the stuff and you want the best templates, the content generator, the journals, all that stuff, I have a $300 resume program that we are now selling for $49 because I just love trying to give that thing away. But it's not even on our site. We don't even advertise it except for when I talk to you guys like this. And you can email support@milewalk.com and we can send you the private link for that. That's what I would do. Yvonne Lynn, what to do when I'm trying to apply for a job and the company website says in 150 characters, tell us what makes you unique. Try to be creative and say something that will catch our eye. That's what it says. So I can't tell you what makes you unique. I would start trying to, shrink that sucker. What does make you unique? That is the beauty of that question. You have something that no one else has. What is that? Bring that forward. All right. ZNat. Hello, Andy. I'm an interview next week. Company likes case interviews. And do you have any advice regarding how to nail the case interviews? Mostly quantitative. I'm not sure what that is, ZNat. Are you talking about a case study? And I don't know what that is. All right. I'm moving on. Mariana. How does one answer the question of what are your long-term and short-term goals in an interview? I would tell them what I would not overcomplicate that. I would just tell them what my long-term goals are. My long-term goals are, I want to be the number 1 career coach in the world. I want to provide the best in-class services, both paid and premium and free. And my short-term goal is I need to get my job search bootcamp ready for you guys for today, and then my program for next month. Just tell them what it is. And hopefully they are in alignment with what it is you're interviewing for. DN, first time. Hey, love it. You're welcome. Sokoloff, you got it. It's out of state. I am good, DN. Chase Winter, one more. How do I leverage my current job in Germany to transfer name media outlets to DC? How do I work bureaucracy and convince my boss and her boss if they don't want me to leave otherwise? Chase, I'm not sure of how to answer that. You're a U.S. citizen. You're moving for family reasons. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I understand the question. Pop it in the boot camp, but you got to give me more detail. All right. Alina, 1 of 2. Lots of companies use variations of job titles and duties within an industry. Career changer. I'd like to maintain my baseline work as, where'd you go? Creative, PM, traffic, print, production within a company in various industries. Challenging finding opportunity, considering lower hybrid jobs to get the foot in the door. How to tailor a resume for each job. So I would try to have one base resume. I really would. It is okay if you were slightly overqualified for some of those jobs. I would not, and on the transferability of the nomenclature, like, are they going to understand what that is? I would try to use the most generic language in your resume. If your title is what your title is, but I've shown you the tricks on, known internally as or performed these kind of functions where you can swap it. Check the bootcamp module 2, the supplemental resume video. Okay, folks, I'm 22 minutes late. I thought I was going to be today. Friday, tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Chicago meet and greet. Hopefully I can see you there, Bub City in Rosemont, 2 o'clock. I'll be there probably till 7 or 8. And then next Wednesday's the deadline for the boot camp special, but I would get in sooner rather than later because then you can go through it and then you could show up on Wednesday and I pretty much get through everybody's questions on those. They're usually like 90 minutes. Sometimes they're 2 hours. But that's the 18th, and the books are free. Out of Reach But Insight is free, and the Interview Intervention is free. So check it all out at the Mile Walk Academy. I will see you next week for Careers and Coffee, and I've got a video coming out Tuesday morning on the best resume tip I can ever give you. It is literally the most powerful resume tip as far as the transformation of your resume. I did it in under 3 minutes, and then we're going to, that comes out at 6:30 Central, and then at 7 o'clock, I'll be there for Careers and Coffee, and we could talk more about it. Hope to see y'all there. Take care. Hope to see a bunch of you tomorrow.